Welcome to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. This episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast is sponsored by Model 55. Model 55 provides turnkey model apartment and design solutions for senior living communities, combining quick nationwide service with deep expertise in creating model apartments. Model 55's designs are more than just aesthetically pleasing. They are strategically designed to drive occupancy and sales. From custom designs to ready-to-ship kits, Model 55 has solutions for any budget. For more information, www.model55.com. That's model55.com. I'm Julie Podewitz, CEO and founder, and today I welcome back one of my favorite peeps in the biz, Brooke Saxon-Spencer, who is the Vice President of Marketing for Claiborne Senior Living. Welcome, Brooke.
Thanks for having me back, Julie. It's always fun.
Oh, it is always fun. It's been well over a year since we last spoke. Well, not since you and I last spoke, but since you were on the podcast, and I'm writing a white paper on this topic that we're going to talk about today and interviewed you. And I love talking with you, Brooke. Well, first of all, what's new at Claiborne Senior Living?
Oh, well, this year we've increased our communities. We just brought on 5 more communities. We have one opening up October 1st. So we've got a lot of stuff in the works, but it's giving us a great opportunity to implement some of our strategies that we did with our previous properties. So it's been a great time to kind of reflect, and even on some of the things we've talked about, it's been a great opportunity to reflect on what's worked well for us.
That's great. And for those of you, listening who aren't as familiar with Claiborne Senior Living, can you give us an idea of?
So Claiborne Senior Living is, we're based in the Southeast. We have 17 properties in 5 states, all Southeastern, independent living, assisted living, memory care, depending on the community, but everybody has assisted living and memory care. So we have about 2,000 units across the portfolio at the moment.
Great. And you said relatively.
Just acquired 5.
Just acquired 5. Okay. Well, topic last time was you were going paperless or almost paperless from a marketing perspective.
Yes.
I love it. You're always thinking, you never sit on the standard or, okay, well, this is good, but you're always looking at how can I improve or how can we do things better, which I absolutely love that mindset. And I want to ask you kind of how things are going with the paperless or almost paperless initiative.
It's going beautifully. I was laughing at one of our sales directors at the communities who she was like, I showed her my format for a new tool for them because of course, no tour brochure was like just terrifying to them. So we created what we call a value guide, and it is basically a 1-sheeter that's very nicely done, cardstock, whatever, but it has very little on it, but it's a tool for them to empower them to continue to build the relationship. And the sales director was gushing when I showed it to her, right? She's like, oh, that's really great. I love it. And then she told me about 3 or 4 months later, she's like, I got to tell you, I did my best to say that I liked it when you showed it to me, but I did not think it was going to go over. She's like, but I love it. It has really helped me like in my process to really listen and to hone in on what is truly important to each prospect that's coming into the building. Instead of handing them a folder full of everything, I'm able to really dive deep and give them exactly what they need and help them use our website as a tool to further educate, etc. So that was really encouraging to me. I still think there's a learning curve out there, but I think overall our teams are very receptive to it. And again, we're using it as a way to empower them, right? To build the relationships and not depend on the paper. So I think it's paved the way beautifully, and I'm very excited about how it's gone. No more outdated price sheets floating around because we don't use them, right? So I think it's been beneficial in many ways.
Oh my gosh, how much time have we all spent on price
sheets?
I don't want to.
Well, and how many times have we had to honor old pricing because we gave someone the wrong price sheet? So, I mean, you just think of all the dollars saved in just printing, labor, and putting those tour brochures together, right? Pricing sheets, all that stuff, trying to keep up with it all. And it's nice. We don't have anything on our value guide that dates it. So there's no pricing on it. You hand write that in per that prospect, family, and their specific needs. So, and you put the date on it, but the actual printed material isn't going to date itself, which I think is really, really helpful for them.
No, absolutely. All right, well, on to the next initiative here. This is a topic, Brooke, that is on a lot of minds. It's a little scary. It's a little scary for most, I think, because it's such a huge change. And that's the white paper topic I mentioned earlier is no more aggregators, no more lead aggregators. And lead aggregators are leads that come in from a third-party source digitally that require a move-in fee when the prospect or the prospective resident moves in, and oftentimes it's close to near a month's rent plus care. And statistically, databases are more than 50% of the new leads are aggregators, and even higher for the number of move-ins. And that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, millions of dollars for some operators, right?
Well, and even with us at 10 communities a couple of years ago, it was over $500,000. And I mean, 10 communities is like not a lot, right? And so, I mean, you do the math, and it doesn't take much to figure out that money can be reallocated or reinvested in other ways. That, I mean, we talk about labor and all these other huge things that are detrimental to our day-to-day business, and yet we're willing to spend $500,000 a year on leads, right? That we maybe could get another way.
Absolutely.
Yes. So that, and I think that's your question is like, so what we did that, we were like, you know what? Thankfully, I have an incredible sales partner at the home office, and we are in complete alignment on both the paperless and on the elimination of lead aggregators. And so we kind of took them both and said, we're going to clear the clutter. We cleared the clutter from a paper perspective, literally, right? And so how can we help our teams? Again, it's staying focused on the people part. And as we all know, what you just said, like when you look in the database, 50%, and I'd say that that's a very modest number of leads in any given database are from aggregators. And when you look at the conversion rate, we were seeing like 1 to 2%. Think of all of the time that we spend chasing those leads down and they aren't converting. It's ridiculous. It's so disheartening for our sales teams, because we're telling them speed to lead, you have to follow up, and they're doing the things, right? They're doing those things and they're being diligent, but it's not them. It's that the lead quality isn't good.
Right. All that time and energy and effort.
Yes.
Could go.
So we said, let's pull them. We think that we can survive without them. But before we even did that, we had to look at a couple of other things. And this would be my advice to anybody who's considering eliminating aggregators. And that's that, obviously you have to plan for it, right? And so to do that, you have to make sure your digital ad strategy, your digital everything strategy is on the money. Your websites are up to date, they're fresh. They are user-friendly, for those that are still on the fence about pricing transparency. I'd say get off the fence and jump onto the pricing transparency wagon, because we often found that's why people were landing on the aggregator sites, is because our pricing is on there, but it wasn't on our site. And so people went there, right? So we went with full transparency for pricing, and again, kind of revamped our sites. We take a lot of time looking at our digital strategy. With the partners that we work with and the stuff we do in-house, I mean, a minimum of a monthly complete review, but I'm looking at things, sometimes multiple times a week, for the communities maybe that, aren't tracking where we need them to be. So you really have to plan to invest your time and energy into those digital strategies and monitoring them so that you can make the pivots and changes needed if you're not seeing it. But that being said, we went with the assumption that, if they aren't coming through aggregators, they will still find us. And we found that to be true, but it took some time.
Okay.
So, and one of the ways that we, there was a dip, there was a lull because we had this massive amount of, like you were saying, if 50% of our leads are coming in, and I think ours might have even been higher than that, our non-paid leads took some time to increase to kind of bridge that gap. Okay. And we're back there now. A year in, we definitely were stabilized again, but the first couple of months were a little scary because it's a pretty abrupt change, right? Your database is like, blah. But if you know that you've got your digital systems and processes, honed in, and there's a couple of other pieces, and the biggest one, again, and I think my VP of sales partner and I are in alignment on this one, is external business development went out the window in COVID, but it has never been more important. And I think probably many of my industry, colleagues would agree that we have to spend some, the time we invested in aggregators, reinvest on those leads, reinvest that time in going out and developing relationships in your market. Those leads, you can look at the statistics, but from our statistics, not only do they convert at they convert like 40 some percent, which is huge, right?
It's sure, as opposed to what you were saying, 5%, right?
Yeah.
For aggregators.
I mean, why wouldn't you invest in that? And then they also have a longer length of stay, we found. So, and we all know that the longer length of stay means less move-ins needed, right? So it's a benefit to everyone, and you're making a mark in the community as well as the greater good, which I think is amazing. But I think, again, part of the planning ahead to do the external business development, you got to have a plan. You got to know who your targets are. You got to be consistent, just like with leads. But we have to work on our backup plan in our communities. Some people call it the A team, call it whatever you want, but your community relations director, your sales director is not going to want to be out of the building doing external business development if they don't feel confident that someone in the building will take care of things while they're gone, right? Like, who's going to answer the phone? Who's going to take the walk-in tour? If they're not confident, they're not going out, right?
Right.
And you want them out. So it then comes back onto, the home office leadership to help encourage, is our ED fully trained and comfortable with sales? Like, how are we supporting them and helping build that structure behind the scenes? So it sounds easy, like, oh, just cut the aggregators, but there really are so many pieces and these things should be important anyway, but they become that much more important when you pull the plug.
Real quick, Brooke, when did Claiborne pull that plug, stop using it?
So we officially pulled the plug January 1st, 2023. So we're coming up on 2 years.
2 years. Okay. Okay.
Yes. So, but we implemented kind of all of those things at the same time, the paperless, new websites, new digital, like it was all kind of whirlwind at the beginning of 2023.
Okay. So you have almost 2 years under your belt for no aggregators. Okay. That's very interesting to know. And you're saying you're giving great advice here. Don't freak out.
Yep.
Because I'm sure that initial few months, especially when you have investors like, what's happening with their lead volume? Because that's always.
Well, let me tell you, I was panicking.
Yeah.
I was, right? Because I was like, okay, we thought this was a good idea. We felt good about this, right? And so, but again, thankfully, you just had to give it a little time. And again, it's not like there weren't any leads. We weren't starting from ground zero. You always have a database to go back and work in. So it gave our teams a little bit of time to go find some gold in the cold, right? While we rebuilt that database with more current, but it also gave them time to go out and start building their external business development plan.
Right.
Which has, again, become so key. The other strategy that we implemented at that same time was we wanted to elevate our resident referral program, because one of our overall company goals is for internal referrals to be our highest, like our top move-in source. So that employee, resident's family, whatever, we want to provide such a great experience across the board that those people are referring people, right? I mean, I think every organization would say they want that as well. But we felt we needed to elevate that a bit more as far as the resident side of things. So we now have the Claiborne Club, and we have exclusive cocktail hours where you can invite friends and, you know, for an exclusive, you know, tour of the Claiborne lifestyle or what have you. But and we wanted to make it super easy for people to submit their referrals. So we have magnets on every fridge in the entire organization for every resident, and it says you can earn up to $2,000 for your referral. Scan here, and it's a QR code.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah. So again, you know, QR codes are a lot more accessible now than they were, 6 years ago before COVID. People aren't scared of them. So we try to make it as easy as possible, but then we also try to create the space to ask. We have to ask for the referrals sometimes, just like you have to ask for Google reviews and all those things. So I think all of those things have kind of led to us having a really good foundation to supplement back where those aggregators were filling in, and put us on a really nice solid footing with our lead generation. And again, it's not just lead generation, but quality lead generation. And our team members play, you know, from a VP of marketing standpoint, I like to think I'm doing a great job, right? Like if digital is my thing, but I have to say that our teams on the ground that really commit to their external business development plan are so successful, and it impacts our digital leads, which sounds really weird, but we find that the more active they are out in their communities, the more digital lead traffic we get as well. So it's like the perfect storm, but in a good way, right? So if everything is firing and all of the different pieces are on track, it's positively affecting everything. So I give kudos to, you know, I've seen a couple of our team members who were really reluctant. We pulled one of our regional directors of clinical in to help support external business development. And we saw this one community that it was like night and day. 3 months later, we were struggling for leads and move-ins. 3 months later, we hit our occupancy goal. So I think that, again, like no one person can take credit. It's a combination, but it just shows that commitment to the systems. And if you have them and your, you know, commitment to those things that, as you and I know, we've been doing this a long time. If you know what works and you work the system will work for you and you'll see the results.
100%. I'm thinking in my mind as you're talking of that Ferris wheel, that victorious wheel, and all the pieces, all the buckets in place. So interesting, Brooke. And I'm going to repeat it because it bears repeating, in my opinion, that your digital and your website traffic increased as outreach did, right? So that word of mouth, how do people, oh, wait, yeah, let me go check them out. They hear about it, then they check you out. They didn't really find you on the website, but they learn more about you. They may have, or maybe they, you know, they kind of do, but it's
and to your point,
learn more.
How do we track that? Like we had to add a secondary lead source in our CRM because I want our referral partners to get the credit for those. So when we have to, again, we have to ask as sales leaders and as sales team members, how did you hear about us? Right? Like we can't just depend on the digital lead coming in with the standard came in through website, right? Like we still have to ask the question. How they get to the website. Right? Like, so Dr. So-and-so told me about you, so I went to your website. Well, I want Dr. So-and-so to get the credit. And then the secondary website, I don't like, again, ultimately, I don't care how you got there, you got there. And if it, thankfully, you know, I'm excited to hear about those relationships pushing more traffic. And again, like you said, it's creating a buzz, the word of mouth. And it has only benefited our leads across the board. And I mean, when you look at the dollars, right, we didn't have to reinvest the actual dollar amount that we were spending on aggregators. We could reinvest those monies into staffing, into other issues or concerns that are plaguing the industry. Let's reinvest that money where it will actually have an impact on resident care and quality of care in our employees. And I mean, I don't think anybody could argue with that being a better use of funds, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. I was going to ask, so what has happened with move-in volume? So the leads, we know they're going to dip. It's absolutely going to dip, and maybe they'll never be the volume they were before. Maybe they
Yep.
will, but the quality, the conversion, the number of tours.
Yes.
Talk to me about tours and move-ins.
Yeah, so we've really worked on our lead to tour, and we actually have because we do have we have a pretty high lead volume even still. And we all know that everybody's going to get their fair share of junk, right? Like there's going to be a fair share of financially unqualified if you're not in a program that offers financial assistance. Those just happen. But we actually have our own internal contact center now, and one of their metrics is lead to tour. So and I'm telling you, because they are focused and they they aren't out doing external business development. It's taking so much pressure off of our sales team members to have to get in and get that initial tour scheduled. So again, it's a whole bunch of pieces together, but we've seen our lead to tour increase over the last couple of years. And then our tour to move in has also it's above industry average. I can't remember. Our goal is I think 40%. And we again, depends on the community, but the ones that are firing on all cylinders, we're seeing it right where it should be. So again, it's hard though, because when you see one gap in the process or the system, it affects the rest of it. So I would say, aggregators were a piece of they were the objective to eliminate them, but we are still continuing to hone in and work these other systems. But overall tour volume and lead volume, they certainly did not drop. They may have, again, I feel like we are not in that panic mode. As long as we're seeing consistency and steady growth, I'm happy. I don't want to see so much growth over a month because 1 month is not a good indicator. Even 1 year to me isn't quite the best indicator. I'm excited to see us get 3-5 years data under our belt to really see the trend.
Yeah.
Because it's senior living sales is cyclical, and with lead volume and all that stuff, but I have been really impressed to see our numbers increase as because the quality of lead is improving for sure.
That's great. So occupancy did not take a big hit.
It did not take a hit. No. Did it skyrocket? No. That would be an unrealistic expectation. Right, exactly. It did not tank. We saw the same increases that the rest of the industry did, but the point is we didn't have to pay for it.
Oh my gosh, when you're talking about that victorious wheel and $500,000 or whatever the dollar volume is, the use of those funds, and it goes back to building the culture to the residents, to the team members, to staff, to be competitive, which is a trickle effect of you're compensating, well, you're more competitive. It builds up a stronger culture. People don't turn over, got happy residents. You're building your referral. You've got those local evangelists in your friends. I like the fact, speaking of local, kind of building an evangelist, you can't ask once. You can't say, well, we talked about the resident referral. We put a flyer in their, in their invoice, or we mentioned it at resident council last year. It's got to be a regular message, right?
It does. Yep. And to that point, we do actually have the Claiborne Club actually has a program where there's 2 annual events and 2 touch points where we're hand delivering a message to them, whether it's at Thanksgiving time, we have a thank you for your referrals. And then we deliver it with something from the dining services team, whether it's pumpkin muffins or whatever, but we ask our leadership team to hand deliver, not just throw the card in the mailbox, make that personal connection and help them. If they need help with that QR code, there's our opportunity. So we are trying to fill in the gaps and improve on even the systems we have. It's always a work in progress, right? That's just the nature of and we should always be a work in progress. We're never going to have it all figured out. But I get excited about, again, how we can optimize all of these different things and how we can support, especially those frontline sales leaders. We ask them to do so much. So how can we support that? How can we help them stay focused? And again, how can we provide the highest quality leads so that they're not wasting their time spinning their wheels?
Yeah. So Brooke, one thing you mentioned is Claiborne ended shut the lead aggregators off, if you will, early in 2023. And it's been a journey, right? It's now in the third quarter. Well, we're in the fourth quarter, our starting of 2024. And you mentioned consistency and wanting that year of data, 2 years of data, 3 years of data. That really, it really hits home, because one of the things that I see from more of an objective viewpoint is that reaction, overreacting, reacting. Okay, we need more leads, so we're going to go do this, and we get impatient, and we spend 2 weeks, and we get oh, it's not working, so we switch, and then we switch, and we switch, and without the systems, the processes, that it's like starting an exercise program, and you do a few jumping jacks, and you're like, well, that ain't working, and you did it for 3 days and quit or start something new. You've got to have some type of time, right?
You're so right.
To work the program, to work the process and test.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I think, and I'm guessing we're not alone, and I'm hoping maybe we're more alone than I'm thinking, but many times, right, we're looking to give investors or ownership groups, well, it's not working right now, so this is what we're changing. When often it's not a change that's needed, it's we need to work our systems. Maybe we have new team members, maybe they haven't been working our systems. And so often we hear, what's your plan? Well, what's your plan? And my VP of sales partner has been like, it's been really good, because he keeps saying, our plan is to use our systems and processes because we know they work. If we are not using them, the plan is to use them. Right? Like, it's pretty basic.
I love that. I absolutely love it. I love it until it's testing, right? So testing, you don't know cause and effect properly until you have cause. You don't, why the outcome? Well, I don't know, it was a moving.
Well, then we panic, right?
I have no idea.
And we say, let's do this over here. Let's try this over here. And then we're all running around scattered, like, what system are they using? And should we allow them to use aggregators? And really, if we just take a deep breath, again, it's the don't panic method. And yes, you can have investors and owners, quote unquote, breathing down your neck, but we should feel confident in the overall systems and structures of our sales and marketing processes, that if they're being worked properly, we know there will be results. So if we see there's gaps, then the plan is to fill the gaps, right?
In the process you have. Yeah, no, I love that.
Not to create new ones.
Right.
Yeah, we don't need new ones. So it sounds so logical, right? But it was so eye-opening when again, my VP of sales partner said, like, we don't need a new plan. We need to work our plan. And I was like, he's so right. Right? Well, like, he's right on the money.
It is. And every blog every blog you're going to read about wellness, if, for instance, it'll say, what one doesn't say, get enough sleep, drink water, and move around. I don't think that those 3 things, I'm not a fitness expert, a doctor, but those are 3 things that are pretty standard for every single article, and those. So if you're not doing those things, do that, and then you can,
start there.
Right.
And then worry about the supplements of whatever. But
exactly.
I think, overall, I think it's a very positive thing for anyone to move away from aggregators. It can be a little bit scary at times, especially if you're relying on them for the majority of your move-ins. So, what the approach we're taking with the communities that we just acquired was, we're making sure that we give ourselves a ramp up time to get new websites in place, new digital strategies in place before we pull the plug. So we're giving ourselves like a 3 to 4 month ramp up to do that.
I was going to ask you. Okay.
But once they caught wind that there was something going on, we've already seen those start to decrease, and we're seeing the trend, the tide turn. But I think, again, we have to not panic and trust that our systems and processes are going to work. Google takes time to index new sites. There's like all these other factors, right? That you just you can't explain to every single person, but so we have to be I have to be on top of that on the backside, and that's my role. And And I know that once we get there and everything is firing, we're fine. We will be fine. In fact, we will be better and people will be happier. The experience will be better, right? So I think it is positive all around for everyone involved to make the switch, to cut the cord. It's hard, but I think it's definitely, I mean, it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Well, you're proving that, you and the team, obviously, you're fantastic partner VP of sales and the culture leadership at Claiborne. Thank you so much, Brooke. I look forward to seeing you. You're going to be at a couple
Yes.
conferences maybe this fall. I'll see you. And
Smash, of course.
all right. Oh yes, you got to go to for those of you going to Smash. It's right now. It's the end of September
October,
2024, but yeah, it's going to be in a couple weeks in Vegas. So hopefully see you there. And if not, you can always reach me at growyouroccupancy.com, and you can reach Brooke by how?
You can reach me by email at bsaxonspencer@theclaiborne.com.
Wonderful, Brooke. Thank you for taking time out of your day to
Thanks
talk
for
with
having
me.
me again, Julie. I always love talking with you.
I love it, and I like the concrete advice. And start with don't panic.
Yeah.
You know you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to Model 55, who is a sponsor of this Grow Your Occupancy podcast. You can learn more about Model 55 at www.model55.com. And we will talk to you on the next podcast. See you then. Again, I'm Julie Podewitz. Grow Your Occupancy. This episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast is sponsored by Model 55. Model 55 provides turnkey model apartment and design solutions for senior living communities. Combining quick nationwide service with deep expertise in creating model apartments, Model 55's designs are more than just aesthetically pleasing. They are strategically designed to drive occupancy and sales. From custom designs to ready-to-ship kits, Model 55 has solutions for any budget. For more information, www.model55.com. That's model55.com.